Have you ever made a choice you knew was wrong, but you did it anyway? Maybe it was that extra slice of cake, a text you shouldn't have sent, or a lie you thought no one would catch. We all know what it's like to wrestle with temptation, and that's why the story of Adam and Eve still speaks to us thousands of years later. But let's get one thing straight. This story isn't just about fruit, a talking snake, or two people ruining paradise. It's about us. It's about why we make the choices we do, what happens when we mess up, and most importantly, how we can find hope on the other side. Stick with me, and I promise you'll see this story in a whole new way. Let's start with the setting, the Garden of Eden. Imagine the most perfect place you can think of. This isn't just a garden, it's paradise. There's no stress, no struggle, and no need to swipe your credit card to enjoy it. Adam and Eve have everything they need: food, companionship, and a connection to God that's so close, it's like walking hand in hand with your best friend. But here's where things get interesting. In the middle of the garden stands the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And God gives Adam and Eve one rule: don't eat the fruit from this tree. That's it. Everything else, totally fair game. Now, I know what you're thinking. Why even put the tree there? Why give them the option to disobey? That's where the deeper meaning comes in. The tree represents something we all face: choice. You see, God didn't create Adam and Eve as robots who just follow orders. He gave them free will, the ability to choose, because love, trust, and growth can't exist without freedom. Think about it. What's more meaningful? A friend who supports you because they want to or because they have to? In the same way, God wanted Adam and Eve to choose obedience out of love and trust, not because they were forced. But with freedom comes responsibility, and that's where things start to unravel. Enter the serpent. Now, whether you see this serpent as a literal snake or a symbol of temptation, the point is the same. Temptation always knows how to talk to us. It doesn't scream, it whispers. The serpent doesn't force Eve to eat the fruit, it plants a seed of doubt. Did God really say you can't eat from any tree? Notice how it twists the truth, making God's boundaries sound unreasonable. And that's how temptation works, doesn't it? It takes something we know isn't right and makes it seem harmless or even appealing. It's just one more drink. Everyone cheats a little. What's the big deal? Sound familiar? Eve looks at the fruit, and here's what's so relatable. She's not thinking about the big picture. She's not thinking about the consequences. She's focused on what's right in front of her. The fruit looks good. It promises wisdom, and hey, why not? So she takes a bite. Then Adam takes a bite. And just like that, everything changes. But here's the thing. The story isn't about how they ate fruit. It's about how they chose themselves over trusting God. They decided they knew better. And isn't that what we do when we make a bad choice? We think, I've got this. I don't need anyone telling me what to do. As soon as they eat the fruit, their eyes are opened, but not in the way they expected. They realize they're naked, vulnerable, exposed. So, what do? They hide. And isn't that our first instinct when we mess up? We hide. Maybe not behind trees, but behind excuses, distractions, or even outright denial. We avoid the people we've hurt, we avoid the truth, and sometimes we even try to avoid God. But here's the beautiful part of the story. God doesn't abandon them. He doesn't leave them in their shame. He goes looking for them. Where are you? He asks. Now, let's be real. God already knows where they are. The question isn't for his sake, it's for theirs. It's an invitation. He's saying, come out of hiding. Let's talk. And that's the first big lesson. When we mess up, God doesn't give up on us. He doesn't run away from our mistakes. He invites us to face them with him by our side. Of course, there's consequences. God doesn't sweep their choice under the rug. Paradise is about trust. And when trust is broken, something has to change. So, Adam and Eve leave the garden. Life outside is harder. There's pain, struggle, and uncertainty. But here's the second big lesson. Failure isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of growth. Outside the garden, Adam and Eve learn to work, to create, and to love in ways they couldn't in paradise. They start a family. They build a life. And while it's far from perfect, it's still meaningful. Sound familiar? We all live outside the garden. We all face struggles and setbacks, but those challenges shape us. They teach us resilience, empathy, and creativity. The story of Adam and Eve isn't about two people who ruined it for everyone. It's about how every choice, good or bad, has the power to teach us something. It's about how even when we fall, there's a way forward. And here's the third big lesson: grace. The story of Adam and Eve doesn't end in despair. God doesn't leave them to fend for themselves. He clothes them, protects them, and stays with them even outside the garden. That's the message of hope we all need. No matter how far we've fallen, we're never out of reach. There's always a chance to start over, to make a different choice, to grow into something better. So, what does this mean for you? Maybe you've made choices you regret. Maybe you're carrying shame, or you feel like you've messed up too many times to get it right. But the story of Adam and Eve reminds us that failure isn't final. It's a chance to learn, to grow, and to trust in grace. Ask yourself, what's one choice you can make today to move forward? What's one way you can step out of hiding and face the truth? And most importantly, how can you let grace shape your story? The fall of man isn't just a story about the past. It's a mirror for the present. It's a reminder that we're all human. We all fall, and we all have the chance to rise again. If this story spoke to you, hit that like button and subscribe for more insights from the Bible Unveiled. Let's keep exploring these timeless truths together. Until next time, remember, no matter where you've been, your story isn't over.